You love what you know and you care for what you love.
Hi, welcome to Nature Magic, a positive voice for nature from Ireland. Today it is very exciting to be talking to Jenny Lloyd-Strovas in New Mexico. Dr. Jenny is a biologist, researcher and educator. Her passion is connecting people with nature so they become stewards of our natural resources. She does this by helping parents get their kids off screens, outdoors, and learning about nature in their own backyards while building STEM skills and confidence. Her program, Nature Matters Academy, embodies the motto, "You love what you know, you care for what you love." Through Nature Matters Academy, she provides STEM-based curricula and online programming to give parents the tools and resources they need to confidently get their kids outside and learning about the world around them. Welcome, Dr. Jenny. Hi, Jenny. You're very welcome. Thank you for being on Nature Magic. As the listeners probably know, I'm in Kinvara in the west of Ireland. Where are you zooming us from today?
So I'm just outside of Albuquerque, New Mexico. So we're kind of we are desert on one side of the mountains, and on the other side of the mountains, it's forest. So I live in the forest, but I'm really close to the desert.
Oh my goodness, that's exciting. It's very good. And I came across Jenny through Facebook, and she has a fantastic business teaching kids nature. So would you like to give us a little bit of background about yourself and the business and all the things that you do?
Sure. So I'm a biologist by training. I taught at the university level for about 13 years. I taught biology and ecology and absolutely loved it. And then when I had kids, I really wanted to recreate essentially the types of field experiences that I got at the college level. So I wanted to recreate going outside and collecting insects, taking data on plants, learning about how the ecosystem's interconnected, but all doing it while outside and hands-on. Because I learned so much with those college levels, and I was like, man, what would I be now if I had those experiences as a kid? So in Nature Matters Academy, that's what we try to recreate. We're all about learning about nature in our own backyards while practicing STEM skills and STEM confidence. But it's just really about getting outside, doing hands-on activities with nature, and practicing science in the process.
Yeah, I actually really regret that I didn't have this material for my kids when they were a little bit younger. We can obviously use it from now on, but they're teenagers now. So on the Nature Matters Academy, you can download a free lesson as a sample, and I did that, and it is, "Can you find the ovary of a flower?" The material is fantastic. It's so engaging. There's different levels, so you can go from age 3 up to age 18. And I really recommend everyone just going on there and printing out the free lesson and seeing what else you can get from there. So it's very exciting and very inspiring.
Thank you.
Yes.
We love the family-based learning at Nature Matters Academy because, I mean, your family is a great example. There are so many kids that are far apart, and you want them to learn together, but an activity for a 5-year-old is not going to be appropriate for a 10-year-old because a 10-year-old's going to get bored. They're going to think it's below them. And so we try to have one activity, but then you can bring it up a few levels for the older kids, keep it simpler for the younger kids, but you're all outside as a family together, learning together and doing something fun.
Exactly. I mean, this doesn't have to be a lesson. This can be something, what will we do at the weekend? Let's print off that worksheet and go out to a cool park or the local nature sanctuary and do that, because it's a whole lot of fun. And you find kids as sponges, they really want all this information. So how did you become a nature lover, or do you remember where it kind of stemmed from?
Well, I'm kind of that classic example where my parents just got us outside a lot. So during the summers, our vacations were camping. And during the school year, they really encouraged us to go outside, but I don't know how much encouragement we needed because my brother and I we were outside for hours at a time and playing all over the neighborhood. And so I'm just kind of that classic example where I grew up spending a lot of time outside, and I just kind of learned to love it from a young age.
And have you always been in New Mexico then?
No, actually, I grew up in Texas. So we moved to New Mexico about 5 years ago. So the great thing about New Mexico, it has more public land. There's not a lot of public land in Texas. So for my kids, a hike is 5 minutes away. In Texas, it was a bit harder to find a public trail.
Yeah, fabulous. I was in Texas once, and it is, yeah, superb. So, yes, do you have a favorite plant or animal?
I do. Well, I'm going to be honest, it probably switches from day to day or week to week, depending on whatever we're seeing a lot of at the time. Right now, we're seeing a lot of horned lizards, and I love horned lizards. So do you know what a horny toad is? Have you ever seen one?
No, I know what it is, but I'm imagining what a horny lizard is. Not a horny lizard.
Horned,
a horned
horny
lizard.
Toads or horned lizards. So
they are horny toads. Okay.
Yes.
Horny toads.
Yeah, that's the local, vernacular or whatever.
Good.
But they have really, really cool adaptations. So they're a little kind of a round lizard. They're kind of round with like little legs. So they kind of look like little turtles, but they have a lot of spikes on their back. But when they feel threatened, they can squirt blood out of their eye, which is awesome.
And do they do that? Do they do that?
They can.
Have you seen it?
Not very often. Not very often. I feel like I saw it once when I was a kid, but that could be just a story I made up in my head. I haven't seen it in a really long time.
Yeah, that would definitely frighten me if somebody's
blood out of their eye. Oh, absolutely. I'd be like, I'm done. No, I'm not going to mess with you. But they also pretend to be dead. They have these really cool, because a lot of them live in desert, arid regions. And so they can actually collect water and dew on their backs. And then they have these little mini channels that are in their scales on their back. And they can pump the front of their legs, and it basically pumps the water up these channels in their back and into their mouths. It's insane. They have some really, really cool adaptations.
That is really cool. Amazing. Yeah. I'm going to Google them and have a look now. So the horny lizards and the horned toads. And what do the horned toads do?
So they're both the same thing. So it's actually a lizard.
Oh, it's the same. So two names for the same thing. Okay.
Yes. Horned lizard, or just what we grew up calling them, is a horny toad. So, but yeah, it's a lizard. Oh, wow, I know it's confusing.
That's a brilliant favorite animal. Well done. So another question we ask people, do you feel spiritually connected to nature, or have you had any spiritual experiences in nature?
Yeah, I do. I am. I'm actually religious, which is kind of odd. Most scientists aren't. But I do feel more connected to my creator when I'm outside. And so that's kind of how I recharge. If I have time, I'm a mom, so there's not a lot of time to be outside by myself. But being outside by myself just helps me feel a little bit closer and a little bit more connected, to the world around me. And then when I get outside a lot with my kids, and so I kind of try to have a little alone time as they play. But that's part of how I recharge and, just feel connected to my creator outside.
Yeah. So outside in your yard, for instance, is that desert or is it woodland?
It's woodland. It's a dry woodland. But it is a woodland. But the trees are pretty well adapted to low levels of water.
So what kind of trees?
So we have primarily, I live in a pinyon juniper woodland, so we have pinyon pines. I don't know if you've ever had pine nuts, but pinyon pine nuts, they come from the Southwest, and then juniper. We have lots of juniper out here. So I'm sure you guys probably have some too.
Yeah, we have juniper as well. I love juniper. So the pine nuts, can you harvest them yourself?
Yes, actually the kids, they have mast years, so they have some years when they produce a lot of seeds and some years when you see very, very few. But this year so far is looking really good. And the kids for the last 2 weeks have been taking their little bags outside, and they go and they collect them. When they're playing outside, they'll just eat them while they're out there, which I love. It's kind of fun.
Yeah, that's so delicious and so nutritious as well.
Yes.
Yeah. And have you had a regular year climate-wise this year, or has it been hot or wet or...
Oh, so we've been here about 5 years. And so I feel like we're still kind of getting used to what that looks like. But in terms of, it's been a relatively normal year. Last year, I felt like we had a pretty bad drought because we typically have what we call the monsoons, which are these rains. We get afternoon showers during the months of like August and a little bit of July, and it's beautiful. We didn't have them last year, but we had them again this year. So I was getting a little bit worried last year. I was like, oh my gosh. But we had them again this year, so it was good.
Okay, so the monsoons, are they warmish rain or cold rain?
Yeah.
Warmish
rain, light showers, like the kids will just go outside and play, and they don't last very long. They may last like 20 minutes or something, and then they're done for the day.
That sounds like a spa. Sounds like a spa. Yeah.
It's really nice. Okay. Honestly, the weather around here is pretty nice.
Yeah, lovely. Lots of sunshine. So do you have any suggestions for people, positive actions that people can take to help nature? I know you're in a different part of the world, but there's things we can all do, simple things maybe, if you had thought of anything you could suggest.
Yeah, so my big thing, I think there are so many great actions that people can take, but the ones that I really push are helping your kids learn about nature outside. So I'm sure you know this quote, Mary. It's, you love what you know and you care for what you love. So in order for us to care about anything, we have to love it. And we can't love something until we know it first. And so I feel like in terms of parents and just people in general, if you can just walk outside in your own backyard or to your local nature sanctuary or to your local park and just learn one thing, learn the name of one plant, learn the name of, one insect, and use iNaturalist. iNaturalist is amazing. It's a really cool app to help you identify all those things. But I feel like if we can teach our kids just a little bit about nature and help introduce them to it, then they're going to be more apt to care for it. And I talk a lot about how it's like meeting a new friend, right? So the way that you develop relationships is you learn someone's name and then you spend time with them and then you get to know what they're like and what their personality is like. The same thing is true with what's right outside our door. Go outside, get to know the name of the tree. And then you're going to learn its personality. When does it lose its leaves? When does it bloom? And as you learn those things, you're developing a relationship and then eventually you'll care for it. So that's what I try and tell parents. Just go outside and learn one thing.
That's amazing. I mean, I thought I had made that quote up myself. I didn't realize it was a quote because that's what I say to everybody. I obviously read it at some stage somewhere.
We're on the same page, Mary.
Yes, and thank you so much for telling me it was a quote, or thank you so much whoever did say it the first time.
I don't know who it originated with. I've never seen author of it. So
maybe it's just a general thing everybody's saying at the same time.
Maybe so.
That's exactly what we try and do, to bring people in so they fall in love. And also, I've just written a book about the Borough Nature Sanctuary, the lockdown book, all the stuff we do. So when we had time, when we were locked down. And I have a whole section on labeling and plant blindness and just introducing, if one label, and we've just actually put labels on the native trees and native plants around them. Just a simple, normal thing so people can say, oh, look, that's a spindle tree. And then the next time they see it walking on the bar and they say, oh, hello, spindle tree. Yep. Yeah, I know your name.
Yep, I love it. Oh, we're on the same page, Mary. This is great.
Totally the same page, the same book, I think.
Yes.
And that brings us to inspiring nature books. Have you anything you'd like to recommend?
So for parents, I would definitely recommend anything by Richard Louv. He is, as you well know, he is the guy who's kind of rekindled the passion for nature in the last 20 years or so. And his books are well written, they're well researched, and they give a lot of great ideas. So for parents, that's what I would suggest. In terms of just myself and personally, I love essay books about nature. So there's a guy, I don't know if you know Ed Abbey. He's a famous author of Stories of the Southwest. So his little short essays are just stories of him being outside and adventures that he has. But he's talking about the local ecosystem and names the plants and talks about how they interact. So I think there's another book that I've read called Animal Dialogues. I can't remember the author, but same sort of idea. I really like the short essays, the short experiences of people outside in nature, and they explain what's going on around them as they're having that experience. So
that's I really love the book suggestions from the podcast because everybody gets a different suggestion, and we from your side of the world we get something that we might never have come across before. So I'm really looking forward to looking that up.
If you do look up Ed Abbey, my favorite is Desert Solitaire. So he has a lot of books. He has some fiction and some essays, but Desert Solitaire is my favorite. So
okay, great. I'll check him out. If you had a magic wand, what is the one thing you do for the planet?
Oh goodness, this one I had to think about. Honestly, I think there's so many struggles that relate around policy. And if I had a magic wand, I would right now just wave it, and there would be policy for climate change that was worldwide. And because I think climate change, as you well know, is such an umbrella, and it's affecting so many things. We're having more severe weather. Agriculture is shifting, all these things, the spread of disease, all these things are happening because our climate is changing. And so, although I think it's important to get our kids outside and teach them about nature, I would rather have a good policy now so that when our kids grow up, they still have the same ecosystems that we have now, rather than them looking completely different because, climate zones have shifted. So that would be my one magic wand.
Thank you very much. And I mean, I think it is more achievable than it was before COVID because we're all connected now. So we can envisage a global law, whereas before we couldn't. We were so, in some ways, we're more connected. I know in some ways we're, disparate,
yes.
But
I think we're more globally connected for sure. Absolutely. We feel, I think, a little bit more isolated right now, but we're definitely more globally connected, and we're realizing that.
Yeah. I mean, if it wasn't for COVID, I don't think I would have had time to talk to you or to look you up or to say, wow, I need to talk to Jenny.
Yes.
So I'm grateful for that part of it anyway. And everybody knows how to use Zoom now.
Yes, we do. We're all pretty good at it.
Yes. And I even have a virtual background of some flowers.
Love it. Is that from the sanctuary?
Yes, it is. So that's Bloody Cranesville, and that's some limestone pavement behind us.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful.
So I can disappear into that. So I really wanted to spend a bit more time on the Nature Matters Academy, actually.
Okay.
Can you tell me the different sort of topics that you have material on, and a little bit more about what's there for people when they go looking it up?
Sure. So we have curriculum bundles that we provide. Essentially, we provide them as boxes. So in a box, you get the curriculum book as well as nature journals. One part that I think makes us maybe a little bit different from, say, forest schools and whatnot is that we really focus on the academics. And so once kids are a little bit older, they're able to write and able to read, we focus on getting them outside, doing an activity, but then they reflect and they write on that activity. And so we really want that knowledge to kind of sink in. Plus it gives them something that they can go back and, what was the name of that beetle? Let me look it up. That kind of thing. So in our boxes comes our curriculum journals and the curriculum itself. And then we also fill them full of whatever the kids need. So the latest one that we just had is all about insects. So it's 8 lessons, and each lesson you're going through essentially a different order of insects. So you're learning different adaptations. But in the box, we provide insect nets and little insects, those little tiny butterfly cages that expand that the kids can put in their backpacks, and little magnifying glasses where they can look closely at beetles or whatever. And the other thing that makes our curriculum a little bit different is the last lesson of every unit is some type of social emotional lesson. So our goal is to really help kids become personally connected with nature. Wow. And so they'll learn about insects for 8 weeks, and then that last lesson, so for example this one, we're talking about metamorphosis. So they learn about the process of metamorphosis, but then we ask them, well, how does that apply to your life? In what ways have you changed over time? COVID's a great example of this. How did this influence you? How are you different now than you were before? And the idea is to help kids create their own metaphor, right? I am like nature because nature does this and I've done this. And even though it's different, it's still very much the same. In our gardening, we have a gardening that's all about the science of growing. Our last lesson is about growth mindset. And we talk about how you plant certain flowers in your garden and you want to maintain those. Those are good, healthy thoughts. But then you have weeds that grow in your garden. Those are negative thoughts. We need to be purposeful about pulling those weeds and pulling those negative thoughts. And so it's fun. We try to relate nature specifically to us as people so that we can kind of weave in those connections a little bit more closely. So those are a few of the things that we do. So we have the curriculum boxes, and parents will purchase those and do them on their own. We also have a program. So in the program, essentially what we do is I go through the lessons with them and their kids, And so for 8 weeks, we're on Zoom and I'm teaching the kids, we're talking about it. And so they have a little bit more of a direct access with a scientist. And in addition to that, I also help parents go through this process of connecting their kids to nature. So how can they set up their own family nature legacy? Because, I mean, as parents, we all know this. All of our cultures look different as individual families. And one family might be the rock climbing family, right? And the other family might be the gardening family. And they create their own nature legacy, but in different ways. And so we take the kids through a curriculum, but we also help the parents to create that legacy. So it's fun. We have a good time.
God, it's giving me shivers. It just sounds so good. And even the weeding out the weeds, I had put that in my book as well for a simple meditation. Weed out your negative thoughts. So
I can send you that lesson if you want it, Mary.
Oh, thank you very much. I think I think everyone needs it. Let's get them out. So what does actually relate to Ireland or the UK time-wise and species-wise? Would it be the same? Would we be able to use your curriculum boxes?
Absolutely. So it's topic-specific, not species-specific. So the idea is anyone around the country, because we've worked with people in the UK before. And so the idea is that we're all talking about grasshoppers that week. It's just you study a grasshopper in your backyard in the UK, and we do it here in the US.
Yeah,
so
great. Oh, that's really good. Jenny, it was really, I'm going to say fantastic. I was trying not to say it on this episode. I said it too many times last time, but it was fantastic talking to you. And I hope we can have you on again at some stage, maybe in 6 months' time, and just see how you're progressing with the Nature Matters Academy, which seems yes, exactly what's needed these days. And for people who are stuck at home with their kids, and even just for the weekends, if you don't know what to do with a couple of little ones, go to the local park, and you'd be surprised. They love ticking off things and filling in things and writing in a very nicely presented workbook material that I printed out the sample of. So I imagine the curriculum boxes are fabulous.
Thank you.
So thank you very much, Jenny. And we'll put any notes and links in the show notes and your website address. And how can people contact you or engage with you if they want to?
Great. So probably one of the best ways to engage with me is in my Facebook group. So if people are on Facebook, the group is called Getting Kids Outside and Learning About Nature. And that is where we have weekly STEM nature activities based on the season. We have weekly just ideas for getting outside and having fun outside. We do boot camps every 2 months or so, where I basically just train parents on how to create nature challenges that they can also make academic. So that's probably one of the best ways. But also my website, naturemattersacademy.com. There's a contact link there, and it has my email address. So email's good too, but Facebook is probably one of the best ways.
Yeah, so anyone listening here in the UK, we do have listeners in the States as well, but in the UK or Ireland, can get on your Facebook group. So what's the Facebook group again?
It's called Getting Kids Outside and Learning About Nature. If you just put Getting Kids Outside, it'll pop up. Okay, Getting Kids Outside.
Thank you so much, and please stay in touch and come and visit us if we're ever able to go anywhere on an airplane. Someday, I hope to see you over here in County Galway.
Yes.
Thank you, Jenny. I hope you enjoyed my chat with the lovely Jenny. If you like the Nature Magic podcast, please subscribe and give us a rating. It really helps with our reach. And of course, tell all your friends or send them a link. Burren Nature Sanctuary is open Fridays to Sundays at the moment. We would love to see you in person or hear from you if you have any comments. Our website is burrennaturesanctuary.ie, and please follow Burren Nature Sanctuary on Instagram, Facebook and Twitter. And if you'd like to reach out to us, please email me at mary@burrennaturesanctuary.ie.